We're back in the water. Doyle's made quick work of mending our frayed tack and also put a few stitches in our worn Genoa for good measure. We're still hanging around Perth waiting for mail, only as temperatures are due to soar, we're swapping Fremantle Sailing Club for the cooler climes of Rottnest Island, navigating back through the minefield of craypot buoys to its beautiful sandy shores. Rottnest is one of Western Australia's most popular tourist destinations. However, during a run on the island, Rob and I stumbled upon some historic buildings that tell part of the story of Rottnest's past. This is a bunker built in World War II, and it's actually a heritage listed building now, but according to the sign just here, in 2011 it was vandalised, which is really disappointing because it's heritage. It tells Rottnest's story as an island that was used to defend Perth during World War II. Now, I don't know that it saw a lot of action, but still, if you want to preserve things like this is your history.
Done your research clearly, Rach.
I have read another notice right beside where I'm talking about.
So knowledgeable.
But I do like a
Show me
bit
around.
of history. Come inside. So, if you come up here, you stand here, you can see 360, defending the whole area.
Yeah, impressive view.
Beautiful day out there. I might be a little bit rosy in the face because we ran here. See the sweat's pouring off me. It's like 40 degrees out there.
Yeah, early.
It's about 44 in here. It's a lot warmer in here than it is outside. Right. The run continues.
Continue the run.
We continued along the coast and discovered numerous military installations demonstrating Rottnest's importance for defending Western Australia's capital city. Apparently, if they saw a suspicious looking vessel, they would track it and plot its course on paper maps so that they could then put the coordinates in, and they could, if it got into a position and they knew what, they could tell which direction it was going in, they'd plot it and they'd be ready for it and blow it out of the water. I don't think they ever had to do that. But, interesting fact, from 1942, these batteries were run by women to free up the men to go overseas for service. So, well done, ladies.
The fair dinkum Aussie Sheila came to the fore.
Australian Army Services females.
You allowed to say Sheila now?
Probably not.
Probably not. What is it?
Mouse.
It's a mouse?
It's a little mouse.
Really?
I thought it was a big spider. It's only about this big actually.
Oh yeah, mice are quite small.
Yeah. Literally run no more than what, 5k up to the battery and then back down, and it's just war installation after war installation. And it would have been a busy little place.
Would have.
World War II with all the armaments having to be armed.
Yeah.
And the soldiers here on the island. Now it's just an awful lot of boats. But this one in particular is in such a gorgeous spot they could convert it. It could be a lovely Airbnb with a historical theme. Self-contained unit.
Little back door outhouse out around the back corner there.
We're just going out to get to the hills here, and with the best view. Oh my goodness, that's just gorgeous. White sand, blue water, boats coming and going.
Yeah.
Sold. Not wanting the boys to miss out on all this historical fun, I encouraged them to join me on a field trip to Oliver Hill Battery to visit the island's largest gun barracks and its man-made underground network of tunnels. So as well as the guns that Rob and I saw, they have one big gun here. So the boys and I have come and we're going to have a tour through the tunnels, have a look at how this place was made. And it's pretty crazy. It took them 2 years to build out the tunnels. They had a whole hydraulic system that turned the big gun, and they had a full working army here running this whole system, although they never fired the gun in anger. They fired it once had an American ship that hadn't given its special code as it came through this area, so they fired some friendly fire at it and he soon put the code in. But other than that, it's just quite a feat of engineering that they built this whole thing out of the side of a cliff and sat here and manned it during the war and never saw any action. So boys, you were determined not to enjoy it. What did you think?
I didn't even know it was actually about the war. I thought we were looking at caves.
Stop doing that.
You thought we were looking at what?
I thought we were looking at caves.
Yeah, I thought it was caves as well.
Ah.
I didn't know it was about war.
Okay, so what did you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. But the
Okay,
bike
what
ride
was it?
sucks and it sucked.
Okay, but the bike ride sucked. Okay, let's go home on the bike.
Yeah.
Just left the boys sort of kiting at the other end of the beach, just land-based jumps on the kites. We'll run down here. I just want to have a chat. Today we saw on YouTube that Vagabond are advertising for an editor because they don't edit their stuff, their material. And look, I don't know if Rachel's good enough or not, but she's quite interested in the concept of editing somebody else's episodes. Primarily, number one, because our channel's just going nowhere. We're very demoralised at the moment. I mean, we had a nice little burst through the year, but you know, it's just going like, you know, we're getting, in a month we're getting 150 subscribers. And, you know, we're hoping to get 50,000 and then 100,000. Well, we need 100,000 subscribers and we need 300 or 400 patrons to sustain what we're doing. And it's just, you know, we've been going 3.5 years and we've got just under 14,000, 13,500 subs. 3.5 years. You know, we'd have to go another 10 years to get that goal. I think Rachel does an amazing job, and I think, I don't know, I just don't know what kicks in the algorithm, you know, what, and I know I'm speaking to the converted here because I know, you know, you guys who are watching this are just so loyal and so supportive and so just great actually, and but it's the growth we need, you know, we need new people on board. Rachel set out with a goal to go to 150 episodes based on an inspirational person called LP, a musician, who told a story about writing 150 songs before she finally broke through. She said, you know, we've got to get to 150 episodes before we make it. It's 134 episodes right now. So if we get to 150, that could be it. But really, it's an area. You know, it's not really getting to the 150 and that's it. You know, it's a rough dive. Really, it should be, you know, 130 to 170. Really, we're at the 130 mark. Really, if we get to 170, 180, then we're kind of in. You know, we love having the memory. We love for our family seeing it, family and friends. It's wonderful. Most of our viewers are American, North American. Australian is their second biggest viewership. New Zealand is a dismal third. Kiwis! We're the cruising Kiwis! Kiwis! Where are you? Where are you? Anyway, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
In the rich tapestry of life, this really is small potatoes. But if you did want to help us, liking, subscribing, there's an awful lot of people who watch who aren't subscribed. Liking, subscribing and commenting goes a long way to helping us. Thank you for staying to this point. We will hang in there, and thank you for hanging in there, and allow me to give you one more little look into what can only be described as the most distressing part of Rottnest history. So I think what is the saddest part of Rottnest Island's history is that from 1838 to 1931 it served as a prison for Aboriginal men and boys. This is the second prison that they built, and the prisoners built it themselves. They built this in 1864 because the first prison burnt down. In fact, that was part of their job. They built most of the buildings in the main part of the town. They also built a salt mine out at the salt lakes and a church, and they cut it all by hand out of a quarry of limestone. You know, it was hard labour, and they worked in the salt mines with pickaxes, picking away at the salt.
So this is where they'd be taken from the boats. They'd be taken up the beach and into this little prison cell here, and held for a period of time before being marched up into the main quad. For some of them it would be the last time they'd see mainland Australia and their families.
They would be brought up the beach and they would do the long walk up here to what they called the quad, and it was terrible conditions. Rooms were 2 meters by 3 meters and there'd be up to 5 people in there. They had a tiny, I think it was 60 centimeters to themselves to lie down at night. Thin blankets, no windows, no heating, and 1 out of every 10 prisoner died.
You had a quad in your school, didn't you?
We did. We called the area in our school where they taught our lessons the quad.
You call it the prison?
And quad is a slang British term for prison, and it usually meant a terrible prison, which is what they had here.
Yeah, that's correct.
So 1 in 10 of them died. Let's go and see where they were buried. This cemetery isn't where the prisoners were buried. This is the cemetery where the workers and their families were buried. These tombstones mark that. This is the Aboriginal burial ground. No headstones, nothing to mark who lies here. Over 370 men and boys, many of them tribal leaders, warriors, the elders of the tribe, who were locked up just to cause chaos amongst the rest of the tribe because they had the stories and they had the governance, and by removing them it allowed the British to colonise Western Australia. But this actually was a campsite. When the prison closed down, tourism started up on the island, and this was the campsite for over 50 years until they discovered some bones when they were digging down to put an electrical wire through to the golf club. Did they move off there? No, it took another almost 20 years before they went, oh, you know, it's probably not a good idea to have a campsite on a burial ground. And now it's sacred. It's now sacred Aboriginal land.
Acknowledged.
Wajimup is the Noongar tribe's Aboriginal name for Rottnest and means land over the sea where the spirits of the dead go, a place of powerful significance for many Aboriginal people. And while the relatives of the dead don't dwell on the past, they don't forget it either. After over 20 years of meetings and discussions on how best to mark Australia's largest Aboriginal burial ground, it still lies more or less a wasteland in the middle of one of Western Australia's most beautiful and sought after tourist attractions.
If you enjoyed this episode, please comment, give us a thumbs up, and best of all, share it. It helps us heaps.
Come on.